Okay, we're live. Let me sit down. My questions.
Is it running?
Yep, it's running.
Hey Warrior Nation! Happy Memorial Day weekend. We're here for the first in a series of what we like to call Warrior Stories. And we're going to be doing a bunch of these over the summer. I always thought it would be nice to record the stories of some previous Warriors and some interesting things that happened to them during their Wyoming area careers and after. And one of the guys I always wanted to have here first was Coach Kim Pace, a cousin of mine. Heard a lot about him growing up. I was a few years behind him when he came back to the program in 2014. Right from the start, we could see the difference in the kicking game, and every year in, year out, we seem to be among either at the top or among the statistical leaders in extra points made, field goals made. So he's really made a big impact on the program. Always wanted to have him for an interview, but more especially after I learned some things over the past couple months or past couple years that maybe we didn't know back in the day when I was a kid, and it just very interesting, some of the amazing experiences and opportunities he's had. So we want to do it all in one and just put it down for the record. So without further ado, we're going to start. We'll do like a short segment on the Warrior way of coaching up kickers and getting them ready to put them in a position to succeed. And then we're going to go over the Warrior years, back from, what'd you start, 7th, 8th grade?
Eighth grade. Wyoming area.
So right on the way up, and all the interesting stories come with that. So without further ado, get started. Coach, what I want to ask you is, when a kicker comes into your program, from whatever, what do you do, what do you and Coach Spencer do to put them in a position to succeed? So starting like maybe right now when you're starting to work out with them, to get them ready for game day.
Okay, let me begin by saying this. Coach Spencer is committed to the kicking game. The punting game, the kicking game, kickoffs, all the return aspects of kickoffs, and all the return aspects of punt. We work very hard on those aspects of the game, on the specialties of the game, and he's committed to finding and using the best kickers that we can. Okay, he's very fair. There's been, in the past few years, we had multiple kickers on the team, and every kicker had their chance, both male and female. They got their chances, and we're very, very proud of that. The only thing I can say is, I don't veer from the fundamentals. I usually get the kickers when they're seniors, and they've never been on the field before, but they can kick a ball in some way, shape, manner. They've done it in the past, either in Pee Wee football, or we get the soccer players coming in, and they know how to kick the football, or a soccer ball. But there's a difference in kicking a football. There's no doubt about it. There's the approach. We got to change the approach. We like to get the extra point or field goal off in 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. Okay, from snap to kick, and it's usually the hole is usually back about 7 yards, and from snap to kick, we like to get it off not too much more than 1.3, 1.4 seconds. Punting has been very successful for us. Okay, I also work with the punters. It was huge in the Dunmore game a few years ago, when Dom was pinning him back into the 10, inside the 10, and so on. Or kickoffs with Jaden.
Right.
It's proven that very few returns. Very, very few returns. He's worked very hard at it. But I just really work on the fundamentals, because there's no time to go any further than that. I'm working with someone right now, and right now I'm just keeping them at 50% power, approximately, till they learn the approach and start making good contact with the ball. Once they become more consistent with that, then I'll step it up a little bit, and then I'll go to what we call the power set point. Once they get to a point where they really can't control the ball, okay, as far as leg speed, I'll back them off.
Okay.
I'll back them off.
So you see, that's like the far end of their range.
That's the far end of their leg speed where they can control the ball. Right.
And you have to do that, I guess, over a short period of time. We're like 3 months from now, we'll be playing football.
I'll know within a month.
Yeah,
right
they
now.
have.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
And like when do you work on special teams? Is there a time during the week when kickoffs or onside kicks? Or
Coach Spencer is committed to the special teams. Wednesday nights we spend some time either on field goals, extra points, or punts. Okay, one or the other. On Thursday nights, we work on all aspects of the special teams. Okay, and
Usually the night before the game.
yeah, usually the night before the game, we work on all aspects.
Sure.
And usually kickers and punters have Monday night off. Okay. Tuesday we work on it. Wednesday we work on it. Thursday it's basically just team field goals and extra points. I'll get them and kickoffs. We'll work with kickoffs on Thursday nights, but that's it. So the rest are for Friday.
So you mentioned Friday night. So game night comes, and like you said, in seasons past, we've had multiple kickers. So that night they're warming. I see them out on the field as we're setting up the film, and they're going through their kicks. So what are you looking at if you have multiple kickers? What are you looking at in that hour before game time to kind of assess where they're at and who might be sharper than one other?
The first thing I look at is who has the right attitude, who's concentrating well. Okay, first of all, we know who's going to kick first that night. Usually they alternate. After that, depending on who's the sharpest and what particular situation of the game is. Coach Spencer watches them. I watch them. I get together with Coach Spencer after warm-ups, and we make a decision in a clutch situation who's going to go. Okay, and it's usually it's pretty obvious. It's usually very, very obvious. Okay, and but it all depends on what their attitude is in a pregame. Are they talking too much? Are they paying attention to what they're doing? That kind of thing.
We'll see you on the sidelines sometimes, and maybe we'll be starting to drive on the 10-yard line. But you want to know where your folks are, because I guess you're always one play away from going on the field.
I'm always looking for them.
Yeah.
And if they're not standing close to me, I get a little perturbed. Okay, if I have to go looking for them,
right,
I get a little perturbed.
Yeah.
And see, I have them ready if we receive the ball on kickoff. They're getting ready, because we might be going for a home run the first play. We might be going off tackle the first play. It might be a big run. You don't know what's going to happen. If we're kicking off, okay, we're on defense. I have them ready on the first play. You don't know if there's going to be a fumble, a pick six, or what, because these kids have never kicked in the game before. They think because the other team gets the ball down by the 20 or 30 yard line, they got 20 minutes to go before they go on the field. It could be at any time.
Yeah, right.
So I got to get them ready, make sure they're mentally ready. Okay, we have a net, and I ask them if they need warm-ups. They'll tell me yes or no, and I got to go by what they say.
Yeah.
So I have them ready. I'm usually looking around where they are, and I said I want you standing on my shoulders.
Right.
Okay. So I know exactly where you are.
We once in a while we watch for that too. If there's, like you said, if there's a long play, then we're looking to see if the kicker's ready to go out.
Oh, a lot of times.
More often than not, they
Well,
are.
there was a couple of times I'm yelling for a particular kicker, and this particular kicker's not showing up, and I'll point to the other kicker, get in there, and that kicker lost his or her turn.
Hopefully, you only make that mistake once.
That's exactly
right. Stay around the coach. So so some good inside baseball there. So again, we see you like on the sidelines, and not with just the kickers, with the entire team. And I know you have some great fun with these guys, and you get good energy from just a good group of kids every year. So, like, what are you telling different players during the game, just to keep their head on the level, keep motivating them? Because I see you go up and down the sidelines the whole game.
Well, a lot of times, they'll come off the field. They made a mistake, and they're disgusted with themselves. I said, listen, everybody makes a mistake. Don't worry about it. Making a mistake is part of life. You got to get over it, and you got to move on. Okay, and they understand it. But such as a competitive athlete, they don't want to make a mistake. So basically, I'm kind of like a cheerleader, trying to keep their head on straight. I don't get in the way of the other coaches, because they're doing their job.
Right.
Okay, and coaches will tell me what they're thinking about doing. But I anticipate. Okay, if it's coming down to fourth down, and we're on the 20-yard line or 30-yard line, and given the situation, I'm anticipating a field goal, and I'm getting the kicker ready.
Yeah.
Many times it doesn't work out that way. But, it's my job to have them ready to go at any particular time.
Well, I see you have a lot of fun with them, and we have a lot of fun watching you guys down on the sidelines. And just before I want to give any prospective candidates an idea of maybe what they might go through or expect if they become part of the program. and also communicate the need that, hey, you're always looking for bodies. You know,
Oh,
so-
absolutely. Any student is welcome to come out and try out. They know they got someone that can teach them and coach them and put them in the right direction and help them. We've had some success, or a lot of success, and it's pretty easy going.
So tell them about so say a player on the soccer team, one of the soccer teams, boys or girls, decides, hey, yeah, I really want to give it a shot. What could they expect this summer as far as like heat acclimation and all the things that they would need to do to become part of the program?
Well, we're in June in the next week. Okay,
Right.
we're 2 months away from our first game. Okay, or 3 months away from our first game. June, July, yeah. 3 months away from our first game. Heat acclimation starts in 2 months. Okay, if they're going to come out, we need them there to start getting ready, start getting their head on straight, what it's all about, that type of thing. Start making contact with the ball, building up confidence. So, no, once we get to that point, the kickers that I usually get, they've kicked before. Now I start working on them mentally, because anything that you do athletically, there's a lot of mental processing. Hitting a baseball, hitting a softball, kicking a football, kicking a soccer ball. There's a lot of mental preparation to it. And since I've been in the kicking game for about 60 years, okay, I know what to do to prepare them mentally for the kicking game and during the week and so on and so forth, building their confidence up, correcting any mistakes that they're making. And I got some good examples. We can talk about that later. How Stanley Madursky, going into the state championship, he developed a bad habit, and we had it corrected within 10, 15 minutes.
Stanley has a soccer background, so a lot of these kickers have soccer backgrounds.
That's
so
right.
I think when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you're a little self-conscious. The last thing you want to do is embarrass yourself. And I think that might prevent some kids from maybe thinking about it. But it just, like, from my personal perspective, I've seen you take so many kickers, and a lot that came from the soccer program. If you can drive a soccer ball 40, 50 yards in the air, you have the basics of you have something to work with, would you say?
That's right.
Yeah, so that I would, and not just soccer players. There's some great athletes out there that not only soccer, but I think would be good candidates for the program. It's always good to have numbers. Generally, some of the kickers, as they get older, they play both ways sometimes, offense, defense. So, Coach Kim, Coach Spencer would like to have some more numbers so that the burden's not always on them.
Well, Coach Spencer is committed to the specialties, as we talked about. And, the punt game, it's very, very important. The kickoff game, extremely. Look how the kickoff game helped us in the state championship.
Yeah.
Right?
You make his team drive a long field every time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
It's a big
right.
difference.
That's right.
So yeah, just in closing, before we go on to the next segment, anybody that's interested, you really can't find a better program to learn kicking in than Wyoming area. I don't think you can just look at the statistics. The past 7-8 years, they speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves as far as accuracy and just you'll have the experience of a lifetime. You go back 2 years ago, and I'm going to ask you about maybe your one thing that you remember from the state championship game. But who would have ever thought that we could be part of that? I know you did, but I didn't even know how the state playoffs worked that year. And just to think how many 50, 60 athletes have rings and we're part of a state championship
I have
team.
one of those
It's amazing. I know you do. And we envy that. But and not just that. There's not a state championship every year, but you see friendships made, and I hate to see somebody not take advantage of an opportunity. So if somebody's on the fence thinking about it, I'll encourage you to come out. Get in touch with Coach Bass, Coach Spencer,
any of the coaches.
and they'll get you started. They'll tell you what you have to do. So that's our recruiting pitch. So we're going to move on to segment 2. The Warrior years, and I said I was a few years behind you. We won't get into that, but I remember sitting here watching games with my dad, and I might have even been on the field once or twice when you were with my Uncle Bill. But that might have been maybe a year or two before your time, before I would get down there with him. But I remember being in the stands, and somebody from Wyoming area or another team would have a nice kick, and they said, "Oh, that was a nice kick." And my dad would always say, "Yeah, but Kim was the best. My cousin Kim was the best." And I remember him telling me the stories growing up. Yeah, Kim was a very, very good kicker, and so I knew of you from a very young age. Of course, we didn't really meet until we both became adults, but never knew all the things you were able to experience, and it's just been fun learning them. So
Till I opened up.
Yeah.
Till I opened up to you in the last 5-6 weeks.
yeah. So it's been fun, but we'll go right back to the beginning. And you said you started in 8th grade.
8th grade.
Playing football. And did you always kick, or
Yeah, I started kicking when I was about, I guess, 10, 11, 12 years old.
just something you wanted to do on your
Well,
own?
I saw Frankie Perra at Wyoming High School kick. He was a coach. He was a head coach.
Coach,
here.
athletic director.
Yeah,
for many years.
I saw him kick, and it was like an eagle in the sky.
Now he was the traditional.
He was a
set.
traditional toe kicker
Yeah.
like me, and I saw him kick in a game, and I mean the ball floated through the air, and I said, "That's what I want to do." So the very next day, it was a Sunday. I got my football, the old heel in the ground.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Take it out. Yeah.
And I stunk. I couldn't get the ball off the ground. But you know what? I continued to go to the games and watch them, and I just continued kicking and kicking and kicking. I didn't know what I was doing. And I always grabbed Frankie's chin strap when he came off the field. I think, Frank Perk, can I have your chin strap? And he would give me his chin strap. And
Do you ever remember that years later?
I don't know. But he gave me some pointers.
Yeah.
I guess he was a senior in high school. I was a young boy, and he gave me some pointers. And we got to be good friends. As a matter of fact, when he was going to Lock Haven, he was working for my dad as a bartender, and we used to sit at the bar and we trade stories. In fact, when he was coaching, he would take me on scouting trips to various games, and we sit and talk. And I haven't seen Frank in a lot of years, but we became very, very good friends.
I played for Coach Parra as a freshman. Great coach, great guy, great motivator, and so that's nice to know that he was your your impetus for
right.
Good.
He was my he encouraged me to kick the ball.
So 8th grade you start now. 9th grade were you part of the jointure, or were you still?
That's right. 8th grade we were part of the jointure. There were 2 separate junior high schools. There was one here in Exeter, and there was one in Wyoming. And there was 2 separate junior high football teams. The Exeter Junior High from Wyoming area and the Wyoming Junior High from Wyoming area. And that's the only 2 teams, that's the only game we played. Right. And they crushed us all the time.
Yeah.
And they crushed us. So what happened, we the 2 junior highs in 67, I think it was, we merged into one team. Okay. That's when Bobby Langan came from Immaculate Conception. We were one team, and we didn't lose a freshman game. We didn't lose a JV game. Okay. And we just grew from there and got better. And I remember meeting Coach Hentes for the very first time. Coach Zawirek in gym class, he sent me out to kick some footballs during gym class. And he goes, "No, I just want you to go out and kick some footballs." I didn't know Coach Hentes was going to come down to the bowl in Wyoming and watch me with Coach Angeli. And I looked up, and there was Coach Hentes and Coach Angeli. And we talked for a while. He said, "Keep up, keep practicing." And so I kicked it. I kicked as an 8th grader. I kicked as a 9th grader. I kicked in the JV games. Danny Lorenzini was the senior kicker on the team that year, and I started kicking on the team in the 11th grade.
Not as a sophomore.
Not as Danny Lorenzini was the kicker. Right? I kicked in the JV games.
So sophomore, you were a lineman at that point. You switched, or?
A sophomore, yeah. I came in the 9th grade. I was a linebacker, fullback, kicker, punter, kickoff guy, and when I came up as a sophomore, Coach Hentes put me on offensive tackle and defensive tackle, and then as a junior, he switched me back to linebacker, fullback, and I was a kicker on the team.
So sophomore year, you get quite a bit of playing time.
Yeah, I did.
Which was unusual for a sophomore.
Yeah.
In that time frame, generally you had to earn your stripes, and maybe you would play a little bit as a junior or more as a senior. You see more younger guys play in this day and age, but not so much back then. So that was a credit to you, I think, to see.
Well, Coach Hentes played a lot of sophomores. Yeah, he did. He played a lot of sophomores.
So good sophomore campaign. Now you're looking forward to maybe a breakout year as a junior, and without getting into it too deep, was first scrimmage, right? That you suffered a pretty serious injury.
First scrimmage, I think it might have even been the last play of the scrimmage, or they called it short. They called the scrimmage short.
Okay.
Because it was getting towards the end. My father had already left,
And it was here?
It was right here. Yeah, it was
Lake
right here.
Lehman?
It was down in this area here.
Yeah.
Lake Lehman. And I made a tackle, and the webbing inside my helmet, it was the suspension helmets.
All right.
The knot under the pad came loose, and my head went against the inside shell of the helmet. And I ended up in the hospital for more than a week. And they initially thought it was just a concussion. Okay, and I don't want to say just a concussion. A concussion is very serious.
Sure.
But we didn't have the protocol back then as we have
Right.
today.
Exactly.
All right. Usually when you got a concussion, then they bring you out to field. How many fingers do I have?
Right.
3. Okay, you're good to go.
You're within one. You can
Yeah.
still, you can still play.
You're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no,
Unfortunately,
I was
yeah,
knocked
that's-
out cold, and Freddie Marinacci, who was playing corner or safety at the time, he came over and he said, he goes, all I saw was the whites of your eyes. He says your eyes were completely rolled back. He said it was one of the most vicious hits I've ever seen. He says you went down like a rag doll and you didn't move. And
So what was your say your first memory after that? You were in the hospital? And,
well, no, they took me down to Dr. Klein in Kingston. He was a pediatrician at that time. And for whatever reason, they took me there. And he asked me to stretch out my arms and touch my nose, and I couldn't find my head. And they says, well, this is more serious than a concussion, which turned out to be more serious. Right. It was life-threatening. It was life-threatening, and they didn't think I was going to make it through the week. And as a matter of fact, he said on the, he says if it was this way or that way at the field, he says it would have probably died on the field.
pretty sobering for a 16-year-old to go through that, right? So.
Yeah.
So obviously, and then the recommendation was that no more contact.
No
from
more
that point
contact
on.
sports.
But right, so at what point did you say, hey, I can still create value, I can still contribute, I'm a kicker, and then make that your focus?
When I got discharged from the hospital, I never missed a practice. I came, I was dressed in street clothes for a while. I went to school, and I never told a living soul, student, teammate, how serious the injury was. Okay.
Kept that to yourself.
I always kept it to
Family.
myself, and in fact, for 46 years, I kept a secret that I told
Right.
you about the other day. That I never open my mouth unless I have to, and so I kept it a secret. And people say, "Well, why aren't you playing?" Well, I just said I was hurt and I can't play for a while. And the key was when the doctor told my parents that I could never play a contact sport again, and I tried to convince my mom that kicking was not a contact sport. All right, and it wasn't going over too well.
Yeah, to negotiate a set of acceptable circumstances with her, right?
Yeah. So yes, I did. I had to. That's exactly right. So one time my mom came up and she sat down. I says, "I want to talk to you." She goes, "About what?" I says, She goes, "Well, let's talk." I says, "Where's Dad?" She goes, "He doesn't need to be here because it's the mom.
Oh yeah.
It's the mom
Yep.
that always makes the decision."
Yep.
So we're talking, and it was like 6 weeks into the season, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, or whatever it was, into the season. And she said, they had allowed me to practice a little bit, all right? And she said to me, "I'll tell you what, let me discuss it with your dad, but we'll discuss it with the coaches, the doctors, and so on and so forth." So they reached a consensus that you can't kick off, you can't punt, you cannot, and the only thing you can do is kick extra points and field goals. And after you kick the extra point and field goal, you have to run off the field. I wasn't going to negotiate with her about jogging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So after I kicked, I just came right off the field, like any other kicker.
Yeah. Right.
Like any other kicker would. And
So you were able to rejoin the team about halfway through the season, and
about halfway
finish
through the
strong.
season, right? And I remember my first practice, and I was kicking some field goals, and I felt a presence around me, and I looked to the side, and there was no one there. And finally, I walked up, I got the ball, I turned around, and 10 feet behind me was Coach Hinn just looking at me, watching me. He says, "You're an inspiration." And he goes, "Just keep on practicing." So I got to kick about 9, maybe 8, 9, 10 extra points that year. I kicked a field goal, and Coach Hinn we were at the Riverside game, and Tom Savitsky, we called him Icker, he started chanting field goal, and it was between a 40 and a 45-yard field goal. And I was so excited to get in there. I did kick I got under it, and I hit the crossbar, and it came back. But I got taught a valuable lesson. Don't get excited.
Manage your
cool.
emotions. Yeah.
Manage your emotions.
You expend
That's
energy.
right. Well, you get too excited, your technique is all off.
Right. You're a little faster, maybe.
That's right. Your technique is
That's a
all
good
off.
point.
So
That's a good point.
I decided it was a good experience, and that was the long and the short of it.
So the success of that junior season, would you say was huge in terms of preparing you for what was a very, very successful senior season?
Oh, without a doubt. As a matter of fact, in the 1969 year, which was my junior year season, that was the first year the PIAA went to 2-point conversion. So I had to contend with that. We went with a lot of 2-point conversions, and got a lot of experience with that. And then in the off season, a student in the 11th to the 12th grade gained their more natural strength between those two in that year.
Biggest period of growth. You would
Biggest
say,
period of
as far as
growth,
physical
right.
strength.
And combine that with the weightlifting and everything, I got pretty strong. So as the weather started breaking, I had my own car, and I kept the footballs in my trunk. I had a '57 Chevy. It wasn't I used $2 worth of oil every day, not $2 worth of gas.
More oil than
The
gas.
$2 worth of gas lasted a week. So after track practice, I would come back to the field by myself and just practice. And then after track, I practiced through the summer. And I saw myself getting better and better and better and better. And at night during the summer, I would come back and we would run behind these bleachers. Because back then, the PIAA didn't allow you to work out as a team until August. And so we worked out behind these bleachers. And then we had to earn our uniforms. Because that's when Coach Vaxmansky came as a senior.
Senior year, Coach
Right.
Vaxmansky.
Right. And then we had to earn our pants. We had to, I think Bax, if I'm not mistaken, skills had to run 2 440s with a minute between them at an average pace of maybe 70 seconds. I could be off.
Yeah.
Lyman had to do it 75 to 80 seconds to earn your pads.
Wow.
Okay? And I asked Coach Vaxmansky, I said, what do I have to do? He says, well, you're skilled. 70 seconds. I was hoping he'd say 80 seconds. But he said, no, 70. And I did it.
Yeah.
And I earned them. So, we started our two-a-days in August. And no one really had saw me kick up at that time. But I knew how good I became, okay, because of the practice. And I did a lot of strength training at home, okay, via isometrics and stuff like that. I worked on my technique at home all through the winter. Got my leg. I lost 60 pounds.
Oh, really?
I lost 60 pounds. I got a lot stronger and I got a lot faster. My leg got a lot faster. And during the summer, I was kicking some pretty long balls at that time.
So a couple years ago, I got a newspaper's account, and this is you had been here 3 or 4 years, so I'm gonna do a little research on my cousin. So I saw senior year, I think you were like 26 out of 28 on extra points, and the 2 that you didn't make were blocked. I don't know how many field goals, but it was a very, very successful senior season.
It was a tremendously successful. In fact, I had some colleges after me were interested, but as soon as they found out about the injury, they all backed off. No one was interested. Suddenly, it was over.
It was an X factor that they didn't want to maybe deal with or be responsible for at that time.
I had then we came to the Abington Heights game, which was parents. It was here at this field, and that was the worst game I ever had. I actually missed an extra point.
Yeah.
It was down here,
Yeah.
going on the south end zone. I actually missed that extra point. I can still see it going off to the left of the upright, and it's kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
Because I took that one for granted. And I missed 2 field goals. I tried one at 40 to 45 to hit the upright. And then I tried another one. I think I might have hit the crossbar or missed completely. But it was parents' night, and I cried like a baby. I remember that very, very well. But my range back then, in my senior year, was about 60 to 65 yards. As a matter of fact, down here at the north end zone, the wind was always blows north. I hit a couple 65-yard field goals, and then from the extra point line, I would put them on the roof. If there was a wind behind my back, it would be on the roof on the clubhouse, or usually bang off the wall.
I guess.
I remember Coach Vaxmotsky coming up to me and says, "I see what you're doing." He goes, "But I want you to know." He goes, "We're not going to kick a field goal just for the sake of kicking a field goal that long." He goes, "In that situation, we're going to punt." And Jimmy Paglarini did the punting for us, and he was an excellent punter. I said, "Coach, I realize that." He goes, "But he walked away and he said to me, he turned around and said to me, he goes, but I tell you what," he goes, "if there's a wind behind your back, and the ball crosses the 50-yard line, get ready."
Yeah.
And he says, if there's no wind, if the ball crosses the 40, get ready.
Yeah. So he had the confidence from
He had the confidence.
and seeing you do it over.
Oh, we hit consistent 50-yard field goals, 55-yard field goals, and team field goals. Yeah. I was prepared. Yeah.
So that was a great season. You wrap it up, the traditional Pittston game. What are some of your memories of that
21-0. They beat us 21-0.
I remember that. Yeah.
They were the best team.
The Rex Revenge game. Yeah.
They beat us 21-0. They were the best team on the field that day. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they cleaned our clocks.
Now, earlier in the day, there was a critical game. And
Valley West beat Conference, so we had won the Wyoming Valley Conference championship.
that was like 11 o'clock, and you guys played
Right,
like 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, right, that's exactly.
So you took the field knowing that, which, hey, doesn't take away from the Pittston area victory. But
No, listen. Pittston won that game. They beat us fair and square. They cleaned their clocks, and that was the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
No excuses. No excuses.
So that's the end of the regular season. Then there's you have a Unico game as a senior.
I was picked as an alternate, but one guy dropped out, and so Coach Fennell asked me if I wanted to kick, and I said sure. So I had kicked 2 extra points in a 35-yard field goal in that game. So it was a good game. It was a successful game.
So now you graduate in 1971. You still love it. What are your? You said you had some college interest, so they knew of your ability, but they wanted to back off maybe because of the injury.
No one was interested.
What's the path forward?
There was no path forward. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to play, nothing to do. No college was interested whatsoever because of the head injury. Okay. So I just continued. But during my senior year, I set a goal for myself. I constantly watched NFL football on Sundays, and just like I said when I was a 10 or 11-year-old kid, I said, and I was watching. I don't know what I was watching during that particular game. The guy who was kicking field goals says, "That's what I want to do. I want to kick in the NFL." But the traditional way of getting there is going to college,
Right.
Playing 4 years, and hopefully getting drafted or going on as a free agent. Okay, but that didn't exist for me. It was like a Mount Everest to climb. So, but I continued practicing. I continued getting better. I thought maybe I might get a break. Okay, so 71 goes by, 72. We get into 73. I read in the newspaper that the Seaboard Football League was coming to town, to Wilkes-Barre. And Wilkes-Barre was there was businessmen in Wilkes-Barre, they were putting a franchise in called the Wyoming Valley Giants. So I said I'd give this a shot, It's the only way I got to do it. And that was pretty good because it was approximately 2 years, it was 1973.
Okay. So you're like 21, 22 years
Well, 1973, no, I was 20. I graduated when I was 18.
Sophomore, junior. What a sophomore, junior would have been in college.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I was good. Because I kept on practicing. But I was up against another good kicker, Gordy Kutz. He played for